For today's video, I'm going to be going through a trade that I took last week on Nvidia stock, making $100 in less than 30 minutes of work. Let's jump into it step by step, exactly where I entered, where I exited, to show you guys full proof that this trade was legitimate. And this trade right here was a very, very simple trade. It was literally using support and resistance. You can take our support line being this red SMA line down here and this blue SMA line right here, and our resistance area is this 140 breakout point. Now, I've been watching 140 for a while. This $140 level was key for several weeks that Nvidia was breaking through, and every time it would break through, it would run up massively. And if it fell below that 140, it would fall to the downside and plummet. So I knew that 140 was a key level. And as soon as I knew that, I was trading on a couple different charts. I had the 1 day, 1 minute, the 5 day, 5 minute, and I had, I think, a longer term, maybe like a 15 day, 15 minute, whatever it might have been. But I mainly watch the 1 day, 1 minute, and I'll watch the 5 minute chart as well. And watching this, you can see here, I'll throw it up on the screen, that I took the trade and entered into a position with 35 shares at a price point of $140.41. Now, that was a little bit higher than I wanted. I wanted to get filled a little bit closer to that 140 because I knew once we broke 140, I wanted like a 140, like 20 or 30 fill. We got filled at 140.41, which was completely fine. So on the 1 day, 1 minute, that was right around here, somewhere where this at the end of the first candle and the second candle started. So we got filled 35 shares. Yes, I did put in market. I didn't do a limit order. I was kind of in a rush. Just threw it in the market. And watching this, I had two options. I knew exactly when I was going to sell, but I didn't know if I was going to continue to buy more. And I didn't want to buy more if it was going to shoot up like it did in this scenario. But trading and knowing what we're doing in this scenario, we're going to be holding that 140 line. If it broke below and the first red candle showed below that 140, I would have sold out of my position. So my risk to reward was extremely good. I had a lot of upside because there was so much opportunity for it to continue running. And at this point, I didn't know it ran, obviously. But if it did continue to run, I knew there was a lot of upside. Versus the downside, there wasn't much downside. I knew that it had the short-term SMA line and the long-term SMA line here, and if it didn't hold 140, I would have been out. So we took the trade, entered in at 140.41, let it ride up. The first green candlestick popped up. The second green candlestick ran up from 140 to about 141.40, which was a massive move, and this is the 1 minute time frame. So from there, we kind of pulled back a little bit, and the volume as well, as you can see here down here on our RSI, or our MACD, our volume pulled back a little bit. Our RSI was still hot though. We were above this high end, the 70 level, so we were still hot on the RSI, which led me to believe that this was at least going to continue moving in an upward direction. I didn't know how much longer. So because of that, I didn't sell out when I saw this red candlestick, and there's no red candlesticks below this blue SMA line. Remember, you enter into a trade when the first green candlestick is above the SMA line, and you exit when the first red candle is below. So I stayed into this trade for a very good amount of time because of the fact that nothing was telling me to sell out. Our RSI was still hot. We had relatively decent volume. We could have been a little bit better, but that's just Nvidia for right now, trading during certain times of the day. But relatively speaking, I mean, we're talking about over 1 million in volume every single minute. On top of that, we watch the candlesticks, we hold this blue line, we continue moving higher and higher and higher. Now, I sold out a little too early, I will admit. I sold out. Now we're looking at 935, 937, 945 is over here. I sold out after I saw it hit this 143 and it pulled back right here. I got a little worried. Now, as you can see, I'll pull the chart up real quick. I didn't sell it to 143.48, which was up here for this first red candlestick. Now, this red candlestick got me a little worried because I saw the massive stair-stepping rally, and then we basically triple topped, 1 top here, 2 and 3 topped. Because of the fact that we triple topped around this 143.20, I thought this was flushing to the downside and going to continue flushing down. And because of the fact that, I didn't want it to break below this blue SMA line and continue falling lower, I was considering taking off some of my position, but I let it ride because we didn't see the red candlestick form and hold below this blue SMA line. So because of that, we continue moving higher. We broke through this triple resistance area at 143.20. Because of that, I thought, okay, we're going to continue moving higher. Well, then we flushed back to the downside with this candlestick. but rebounded again, held this support area. Technically, this would have been a support area because of the fact that we bounced multiple times and held once, twice, 3 times, and a 4th time. So that kind of gave me the idea, okay, we're holding at least in the short term. Now, if we pull this thing to the long term and I pull up the 5-day or the 5-minute chart rather, and we pull up what it looked like, you can see that there is a lot more. I gotta pull it up back here a little bit. You can see, oh, this is the day, I believe. No, that's the 6th. That was on the 3rd. You can see that on the 5-day, 5-minute chart, the chart looks a lot better. There's a lot more strength, which means it's further away from this simple moving average line. And then when we had this pullback, it kind of stabled out, held below the 5-day, 5-minute, but held this support line at 142.50. So because of that, on the longer term chart, it looked even better. So after bouncing now a 4th time off this support area at 142.55, we finally broke back above this blue SMA line, which caused us to start that next rally. Now the next area I was watching was, at this point we had 1, 2, 3 candlesticks, and now creating a 4th candlestick around this 143 area, which was kind of creating this resistance. And we tried to break through here, plummeted back down, and now we're finally breaking out. And this candlestick right here was the factor that really set this stock moving forward, and it was the deciding factor for me to continue staying in this one because of the fact that we held, like I said again, above the blue SMA line. We held above it and broke through this resistance. Now this is now support, and we see that support because if you look over here, this red candlestick bounced off of it. But the problem that I made was that as I sold after this pullback right here, and the next red candlestick closed below this blue SMA line, which according to my thinking, yes, that is where I should have sold, but I didn't take into consideration that this was now support because of these candlesticks back here. And now that I see that as support, that should have been a clear sign that it was going to at least try to bounce, and if it did bounce, it was going to move higher, and in this case it did. But in hindsight, it really didn't move much higher. It ran back up to around 144, so I missed out on about 75 cents to $1 per share. So yeah, I ended up selling around 143.48. The 35 shares sold in full. Normally I like to split it or at least do quarters and sell in chunks moving up. But in this scenario, it was a solid mover, but I wanted to take my profits. I really didn't see it moving much higher than this. And coincidentally, it actually ended up running back up to around 145.50, 145 by the end of the day. So we missed out on a little bit, but this was also in a shorter time frame. I was looking to make a trade within the first hour to hour and a half. I wasn't looking to watch this thing all day. So for this trade to enter with the first green candlestick above the blue SMA line, watching the RSI and MACD, and trading with the first red candlestick that closed below the blue SMA line with support and resistance, I think it's a pretty solid trade. 30 minutes, $100. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. If you guys have any questions, comments, or concerns, let me know in the comments as well. Hit that subscribe button, like the video, and I'll see you guys next time.